We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's.
Did the CIA write Wind of Change by the Scorpions?
As humans busied themselves about the various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied.
Dr. Loeb, what percentage chance do you give it that you have indeed uncovered extraterrestrial or non-human technology?
With infinite complacence, people went about their affairs, yet across an immense ethereal gulf, intellects vast and unsympathetic drew their plans against us.
Prior to your abduction, did you believe in UFOs or any sort of alien life form?
All things unexplained.
So some of that, I think, sir, we'll save for closed session.
The material is made not to stretch. Now, there's a certain amount of PSI. If you go over the PSI, it's going to pop. It's going to explode. And so we know the pressure up there. We know the pressure we've got to get to be safe. We put a very measured amount of lift in the balloon. When the balloon leaves us here on the ground, it is almost empty because it's going to expand as it goes up. So this thing expands, it gets tight. The balloon fills completely out, it gets tight, but it's got to hold. It can't stretch anymore. If it stretches, it's going to go higher. Then if it stretches, it goes even higher. So the balloon has to stop stretching. So based on the volume of the balloon, the weight of the payload, the amount of gas that the lift that we put in, we can determine how high it will go. As far as the tracker, you can buy. There are several people that are selling these little trackers that you can buy in a roughly the $150 range, and you can attach that there and launch it, and there it goes, and you can track it around the world. Now, we build our own trackers under a microscope. I was going to show you some little parts tonight on the end of the tweezer. It's smaller than a gnat. Some of the parts are really, really small. But we can actually build a tracker that will transmit 9,000 kilometers. That's 6, 7, 8,000 miles. And it's easy to see on our maps. There's a map that shows the tracking. And you can see our balloons. Let's say if it's over the Atlantic Ocean, you can see that it's being picked up in Australia and all over Europe and maybe in Hong Kong and Japan. So you can see all the places in the world that this balloon is actually being picked up. They pick that data up and they put it into the internet, and then it goes to the tracking website and it's plots on the map. So we can get a balloon in the air probably for about $40 or so. And the balloons we're flying today are about $12, and they're the best we have found. And they're staying up a long time. They handle the pressure and they stay up.
Great answer. You know, Tom, it was reported that the spy balloon took a drop of as much as 20,000 feet at one time. Listener George Winters wants to know, do balloons, your Pico balloons, typically drop 20,000 feet all at once, or how about any altitude change at all?
Well, our Pico balloons, they can, but that means they've got a hole in them. And if they get a leak, they're going to come down. They're going to come down. Some come down a little slow. They leak out over days. Some come down fast. We've lost balloons in the deserts. We've lost them in the oceans. We've lost a lot of balloons in the early days. No, we can't change altitude like that. We don't have anything to maneuver our balloon. It just goes with the wind. Atmospheric pressure will change the altitude of a balloon. It may change it, 500 feet, 700 feet. It may vary up and down, so say within 1,000 feet, over time as it goes around the world. The Chinese balloon, my understanding was the Chinese balloon had equipment in it that could actually, I think they had some propellers on it that we could probably even steer the direction. It's simple. It's simple to bring a balloon down 20,000 feet or take it back up. And what they may have inside there, and the government hadn't let me look, but inside the balloon, there could be another bladder or in there where if they just pump regular air into that bladder, the weight of that air will bring the balloon down. And then when they're ready to go back up, they just pump that air back out of that bladder. And, of course, the helium or whatever's in there is going to take the balloon back up. So they have equipment and sophisticated way of increasing or decreasing altitude. We don't. We fly the jet streams, and it goes where the wind blows.
So you might have missed that, but Tom said the government hasn't let me look. And after your stories on your show last night about the SWAT team coming to your house and all of these people reaching out to you for your insight, I'm like, maybe the government would let him look. I can't tell if he's being facetious or not.
The UFO task force is always looking for some new recruits.
Some of that, I think, sir, we'll save for closed session.
Well, I did have a top secret security clearance when I got out of the Air Force for about a year afterwards, but then, it kind of goes away. So I guess they don't trust me.
Oh, man. Well, we trust you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's dive in, Tim, to a little bit of analysis about what we think happened and why.
Absolutely.
You might have more specific questions.
Well, I tell you one thing I want to know, Tom, because we heard a lot of talk about these UFOs that were shot down, whatever they were shot down because they represented a threat to commercial air traffic. Tom, are you aware of any pilots or passengers on commercial flights that have ever even spotted any of your Pico balloons in the air?
No. In fact, I've got a pilot friend just retired, 35 years, wide body. He has never seen a balloon in the air. Let me say this about that. On one of the TV networks, I was on Newsmax the other night, and they gave me one question, and it's the most controversial question. It's these things fly at altitudes where civilian aircraft fly. And that's actually the only reason the government gave for shooting it down. These things are a hazard to aviation, so we shot it down. That's the only reason they had, if you remember and think back. But if you really think about this, we're flying under regulations of the Federal Aviation Agency today. The Federal Aviation Agency, they do all kinds of tests. They shoot chickens and birds into jet engines, and they freeze them, and they do this, and they do all this testing, and they have regulations, and we fly under FAA 101 exempt regulations, meaning that we're complying with the FAA. And I think the FAA feels like that there is no danger to civilian aircraft. There are hundreds and hundreds of balloons up there, and typically you don't see them. I mean, I've flown probably for the last 30 years quite often. I've never seen a balloon in the air.
That's a great
point.
And
think of this. Take a cork and throw it out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and just think, hey, that's a balloon up in the sky. I mean, is the ship going to hit that cork? I don't know. I mean, if it did, it probably wouldn't hurt it.
Right. That's a terrific example. I love that. Tom, do any of the Pico balloons have lights on them? Thanks. Like, share, follow, comment, subscribe, support. What's your hot take on Travis Taylor?
I've got an exclusive for you guys if you want it about the Alaska.
We do.
Okay.
More at BigfootUFO.com.
All things unexplained.
So some of that, I think, sir, we'll save for closed session.